Just remember that boundaries are beautiful in the sense that you need to have boundaries. You need to set limits. You need to share them. You need to stick to them. And we say this because so many women will approach dating in the sense of whatever he wants. Okay, sure. But boundaries, when you establish them, adhere to them, remind him of them, it shows value. It doesn't decrease value.
Gary, do you know what this is? This is pick me energy. This is needy energy. This is that doormat that people just walk all over. Oh, this is dirty, man. I just picked this up from the studio. This is what I do for all of you beautiful ladies out there. Just a nice little visual. But we do not want you to be this moving forward. We want you to be that confident, sexy, confident, beautiful woman that men don't walk all over, who they respect. And that's what this podcast is all about today. Gary, what do you think?
Yeah, I love it. Ditch the doormat, right?
Ditch the doormat.
Take a little responsibility and focus on what you can control the most. Control the controllables, you, right? There's nothing more empowering than focusing on yourself, controlling what you can control, and doing things strategically and doing things the right way. And that's what we're here to talk about today.
Definitely. And I think a lot of women will have been given the wrong advice when it comes to love. I think a lot of women will take the advice of like lean back, just kind of like let him take the lead, let him do whatever it is that he wants. They take the role of feminine energy and they almost take it to a level of truly being a doormat. And that is why the first company, we're now Love Strategies. We changed the name about, 5 years ago from Sexy Confidence. But Sexy Confidence really embodied this idea of having that feminine strength while at the same time being confident. And I think it's kind of a weird tension between the two that I think a lot of people think that like just because I'm feminine doesn't mean that I can't be empowered throughout the process. And so today we want to break through some of these kind of belief systems that I think a lot of people are propagating out there, these wrong belief systems about feminine energy and dating and confidence, and allow you to be empowered, allow you to be in control throughout your love life.
Yeah, it comes down to, I think women in general are just given this message of be passive, let guys take the lead. And I know it's something I think about, I have a 16-year-old daughter and like trying to teach her about how to be in the world. And it's like, trying to teach her, no, like stand up for yourself, be confident. Like in all cases, at all times, the right guy is going to love you for that confidence. And this is what we talk about at Love Strategies too, is this idea of relationship synergy. It's like, you want to be a full, complete, amazing person. Your partner's going to be with someone who's like that because that's who you want. Two amazing people together, they're going to have the best relationship possible. And so it's embrace the confidence. And we're going to talk about some ways to do that.
Yeah, amazing. But I know we have some don'ts to start with, right, Gary, when it comes to confidence. Why don't you jump into the first don't of presenting yourself as maybe a confident person or being
Sure.
a
And I
doormat?
think, there's some things that you don't want to do. And these are things that, we see our clients typically doing. And a lot of the bad advice out there suggests acting in this way. So I think the first thing you really want to avoid is this always being ready and all what we kind of call this pick me energy, where you're just over eager. You're accepting last minute dates, right? He texts you Friday afternoon at 3 and says, hey, you want to go get drinks at 5? And it's like, sure, of course. Yes, love to. And it's like, no, like you have your own stuff going on. Like you have your own life. Your job is not to wait by your phone, to always be free, to hang on his every word, to let him just dictate everything in life. You have your own life and he's going to want to be part of your amazing life.
Don't be a doormat. That would be being a doormat, is by having that pick me needy energy, just the same way that you beautiful ladies out there would not want to be with a guy who's a doormat himself. I think the second way that people tend to be a doormat is just using this one magical word a little too often, which is yes. Yesing him, being a yes man. When you do everything and anything that he wants, you go along with every conversation that he wants to have, you agree with him with everything that he says, You eat what it is that he wants. You listen to all of this. You're just yes, 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 because you like him and you don't want to ruffle feathers. I get it. And he might even really like it at first. But the problem is, it doesn't make you an equal. When we always yes someone, then suddenly you're not really earning that person's respect. I say it all the time, like Gary is my ultimate no guy. And I say it in a very like endearing, loving way. Like I respect when people say no to me and they because what they're saying is I'm listening to you and I'm also challenging you. And when someone is just constantly yesing you, I know for a fact, I know one thing in life is true. I'm not right 100% of the time. And if someone's yesing me 100% of the time, that means they're just not challenging me. So the ultimate way to not be a doormat, challenge him, be willing to say no, set your boundaries, be clear about this. And suddenly his respect level for you is going to go up drastically.
And this one, I'll tell you ahead of time, is going to be a tough one to follow because if you want things to go as smooth as possible early on in your dating life, you just say yes to everything he wants. Things are
Right.
going to go amazing and he's going to get everything he wants. And you're going to tell yourself, this is okay for now. This won't last like this forever, but it's a lie, right? Like,
Yeah.
you just can't keep this up forever. And he's going to be thrilled, but again, it doesn't earn his respect. People that do things for you all the time, you like it, but it's not that you're equals. It's not a respect thing.
Yeah.
And so that brings us to the number 3 way of being a doormat, which is similar, but it's what I'm calling cool girl syndrome. It's more than just kind of going along and saying yes to everything. This cool girl syndrome is where you actually change who you are to accommodate him. This is pretending that you're into everything that he's into. And it's even more than just pretending, it's actually getting into those things too. Like he's into professional wrestling and monster trucks. You are now too, right? And it's like, no, you're not.
Oh God,
Let's be
help
honest.
us. No.
Let's be honest. You're not into professional wrestling and monster trucks. But the cool girl syndrome is, I love monster trucks. Let's go to another, I don't know what they call them, derby. I don't know.
Never been to one.
I've never been
Never
to one
will.
either. I'm totally out of my depth. But you get the idea. It's like, you don't like these things.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. In reality, that's fine. But cool girl syndrome is like, no, no, no. I'm going to mold myself into him so that we are the same person so that everything is fine. Again, this goes back to something I said a second ago, but it's not just for now. Like you will convince yourself, I can just do this for now, but it's really about you can't do things just for now that you can authentically be forever. So be true to yourself. Don't succumb to cool girl syndrome.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think when, you know, at first when we're dating, yes, we want to explore other people's identity. We want to explore their interests. But there are some people who are just total, like they just completely blend in. It's like, and I think it comes from a place of lack of their own identity. When you have your own identity and your own interests, suddenly you're not going to succumb to cool girl syndrome because if you're the type of woman who loves classical music and going to Broadway shows, you're not suddenly just going to be wearing monster truck tank tops and drinking Budweiser at, one of these. And that's okay. Like he can have his thing, you can have your thing, you can kind of share and he comes to your thing and kind of does it and you go to his thing, you kind of do it. But what we want to avoid is getting into a new relationship and losing your entire identity, or your identity completely changes depending on the relationship that you're in. That is a doormat. That is someone who doesn't have yet their identity. So what is the solution to it is discovering your own truth, like you were saying at the beginning with relationship synergy, like discovering your own passions, your own interests, what lights you up before you're in a relationship so that you don't just keep kind of changing depending on what guy you're with.
Right. Right. Yeah, 100%. And, authenticity is important. And so it actually brings us to the fourth one here too, which is you want to understand what's his why. And what I mean by that is why is he dating you? Because the doormat way of looking at this is basically saying, I don't care why he's dating me. I just like that he likes me. And so that's not great because you want to make sure that he likes you for who you are and not just for something like superficial, like your looks. By the way, you shouldn't also just like him for his looks. We want people to like us for the content of our character and for who we are as a person. And again, that's going back to this authenticity idea, is that why he likes you is important. And doormats don't necessarily care, and they allow guys to like them simply because they're cute or they're attractive.
Right.
And that's, again, a for now kind of feeling. That's not a forever kind of sense of fulfillment. And you want to be very careful about what the why is when you're getting involved with guys.
That's a really interesting thought. I mean, I love this one. I think of it just from the male perspective. A lot of guys, like, I'm in my late 30s going to 40s, and think of a lot of guys that I know who are single and they're now getting into their like high income earning years and get a lot of attention from women. Some for the good, some for the bad. It's kind of mixed. But I do notice that the guys who are super successful, if they don't care why they're interested, the relationships don't really work out. They are kind of being a doormat in many ways. Like, I would recommend to any of these guys to be like, why are they just interested in you for your looks, for your car, for your charisma, or do they actually care about the content, the true content of your character and who I know you to be and your vulnerabilities and your imperfections? Like, I think that's one way to stand into your strength, is to really genuinely care about that, because it's very, very important. And throughout the dating process, it's so easy to get validated by these things. And for women, it might be your physical looks, it might be, a number of different things that are more superficial. And really diving into and understanding that, I think, is extremely helpful. So what do we actually do? Well, we want to date with an empowered mindset, right, Gary? I think that's so important throughout the process, is to realize your feminine energy and your ability to date is completely within your control, and you can project this confidence while you're getting out there, and it's something you can do immediately starting today.
Yeah, being empowered and confident, it goes hand in hand, right? I mean, one leads to the other. And I think, we have 7 ways to do this. And the first one is really something we allude to and we talk about a lot on the podcast, which is the 7 little love steps. That's a whole podcast. It's a whole course. It's a whole thing that, we don't have time to get into. But essentially, like, there is a framework of steps you can go through that take you from unsure to confident to then being the right person, to finding the right person, to building an amazing relationship together. And it really all starts with confidence. And so it's really just to underscore the importance of starting in the right place.
Yeah, I mean, the reason why I named the company Love Strategies and we talk so much about strategy is because I think when people lack confidence in any area of their life, it comes from a lack of knowledge and a lack of strategy as a starting point. Like, if you don't know how to play the guitar and you don't have confidence playing in front of people, what's the best way to gain confidence? Well, learn how to do it with a strategy and then practice it. Suddenly, you will become confident at that very thing. And the thing is, with dating, a lot of people don't think of it that way. They think of it, it's just like, oh, I'm just going to go with my heart, just kind of see where it goes, let life happen, see if this guy comes in my life or it doesn't, yada, 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 and just go with every single impulse that I might have. No wonder we have a lack of confidence. And so when we have a structured framework, such as the little love steps, it kind of walks you through this process. And so, I mean, again, not here to plug this, but since people are probably wondering what are the little love steps and how does this work, you can always just go to thelovesteps.com. We have an entire step-by-step training that walks you through that. That's beyond the scope of today's podcast. But I think the big thing is realizing that if you lack confidence in something, getting knowledge and then practicing that thing, that is the key to unlocking confidence. Now, the second part of all of this, of being more confident throughout your dating journey, is leaning into your high value, realizing that you, by the very nature that you are here right now listening to this podcast, you are already in the top 1% of all people on the planet, because you are looking to grow, you're looking to adjust, and you're not like a subservient, less power person. You're an equal when it comes to dating. And this guy that you're talking to, he is lucky to have you. That is a mindset. That is something that you have to internalize. If you don't necessarily believe it at first, you got to just repeat it. And the real thing is, you don't want to base your feelings for him based on how he feels towards you. It's all about you realizing you are the prize, you are the high value person. He is lucky, so lucky to have you. And you know what? If he doesn't step up to the plate, next, moving on.
Yeah, like, don't lose sight of the most important question. Do you like him? Why do you
Right.
like him? How does he make you feel? And that sounds so obvious, but I just know from talking to our clients, it's you hear them explaining their first dates and talking about it. It's him, 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 him. And it's okay, but what about you? Like, how do you feel? Yes, he seems to like you, but that's only half of the equation. It's not even the most important half. It's how
Yeah.
do you feel about him? And I think it's just a different way of approaching dating. And again, much more empowered. You're in control, and that control gives you confidence. Speaking about being empowered, the third way to date more confidently is just remember that boundaries are beautiful in the sense that you need to have boundaries. You need to set limits. You need to share them. You need to stick to them. And we say this because so many women will approach dating in the sense of whatever he wants. Okay, sure. But boundaries, when you establish them, adhere to them, remind him of them, it shows value. It doesn't decrease value. The most expensive real estate houses in the world, you know what they have? Gates. They
Love that.
have boundaries, right?
Love
And
that.
so having a little bit of restricted access seems like, oh gosh, he's not going to be happy because, okay, so maybe he's not going to get what he wants immediately. But when you don't get things immediately, it shows value. It shows that it's important. It shows that it's worthwhile. We like the things that we work for, right? It doesn't have to be all about his convenience at all times. And so the right guy is going to respect those boundaries, listen to those boundaries, and ultimately really, really dig those boundaries. He's going to be into it.
Yeah, and this is something you really want to start setting from the very beginning of dating, and certainly at the early stages of an exclusive committed relationship. For example, let's say he texts you on the first date and he says, "Hey, actually, let's not go to this place. I can just come over to your house and we can watch a movie." Now, some women might be like, I don't know. This guy is really cute. He's really attractive. He's really successful. Maybe I should just go with it. I don't want to turn him off. High value one would be like, hell no, not happening. No way, no hell. Dude, you got to do so much to even get me to consider that to happen. Because you know what? You haven't earned it yet, buddy. You haven't earned it. And the crazy thing about all of this is women might hear that and be like, oh man, but I don't want to turn him off. By saying that, you're going to turn him on. That is actually a turn on. By setting those boundaries, it is incredible. Suddenly a man's like, huh, that woman, she's not like the others. And the higher value he is, the even stronger your boundaries need to be because he's so used to getting his way with everything. He's so used to just being able to walk all over doormats because women just lay out the carpet for him, the red carpet, because, oh my God, he's so handsome. He's so suave. He's so blah, 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 blah. But the reality is, if you can be the woman who can actually set that boundary, set it clear, be like, I'm not that type of girl, you're going to have to do a lot more to even, and that's just one example of many of setting boundaries. But you kind of get the point. By doing that, it raises your value and shows your level of confidence, and it shows that you have true self-worth. That's the key.
Absolutely. Right. And that's really what it's all about is self-worth, right? Showing your value, which I think brings us very nicely to the next one here on being more confident in dating, which is do a little less kissing up and a little more stepping up for both
Mhm.
you and him, by the way. And so kissing up is like the fawning all over him and like, you're amazing. And just like, all these words and just declarations of affection, either you for him or him for you, because these words early on are empty. They're easy to say, they're hard to back up. And you have to remember early on, you don't know him well enough for any kind of bold proclamations anyway, nor does he know you well enough to say, what an amazing person. You're the only person in the world I've met like this. That sounds really nice. But it's like, no, 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 don't kiss up. I want to see you step up. Like, show me. And like, show me in particular, let's focus on connecting. Let's focus on growth. Let's focus on emotional vulnerability. Let's focus on emotional connection, less platitudes and nice things and just stuff that, frankly, we like to hear. But That's all kissing up stuff. Let's really focus on stepping up, both of us together.
Yeah, and like, look, being affectionate is great. Like, you can be affectionate when it's genuine and authentic, but there's a difference between being affectionate versus just being a total ass kisser. When you're an ass kisser, you're just saying things in order to get something from someone. That's an ass kisser. A true, genuine compliment is someone who is truly feeling something and they are sharing this in order to give something. And so if you're finding throughout the dating process, you're saying things to just win a guy over, that's coming from that pick me energy, that's coming from that needy doormat energy that we don't want to be. And instead, have him actually do something that is worth your affection. Now, the next piece of all this is, to being more confident, is just simply asking more questions. You know, Gary, you have this famous saying now, which is stop fibbing. What is fibbing?
Fibbing is filling in the blanks.
Yeah, filling in the blanks. I love that so much. I think that's so great. But what do we do when we're dating? We have all these blanks, all these unknowns. We don't know anything about the guy. And so we start to make assumptions. And it's so helpful as if you want to start projecting yourself as this confident person by asking genuine questions, leading with that curiosity, ask him what it is that he wants, what he's thinking, where this is starting to go. If you're starting to build a more genuine connection, if you've been dating him for 3 to 6 months, don't be afraid to do that. Don't fill in the blanks and assume that he wants to live with you in a gated house, outside the city. Like, don't make any assumptions about anything, okay? Because we don't know. Ask questions. And don't be afraid to ask the scary questions. Having that true courage to step up as things progress. You're not going to ask the scary questions on the first or second date, but I'm talking when things start to get real and you're starting to build a real connection. Don't be afraid to get true clarity from the guy that you're with, because you are building a partnership. And what does a partnership mean? It means that you need to be willing to have that courageous moment of having the adult conversation, bringing up things and asking him about things that you might not even like the answer to.
Clarity gives confidence, right? I
Yeah.
mean, most of the time when our clients are at their peak level of uncertainty, it's when they don't have information and they're wondering, what if this, what if that? It could be, it might be, might sort of possibly. And it's just like they start spinning and spinning and spinning. And it's like, wait a second, you're doing all this because you have the absence of information. Just
Yeah.
find out, like, ask questions. Like you said, embrace your curiosity, ask some of those questions that might be scary. If you're not sure what he's thinking about, where he's going to be in 5 years, ask him, like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Like, it's not an unfair question to ask, right? And so
Yeah.
when in doubt, ask.
It's Gary, I'm sure you've experienced this many times. I know you have. I have definitely with our clients. We have these mastermind questions, and like clients will ask us questions, and we will coach them and guide them, and they'll be like, "Well, a guy went out with me, and then he sent me this really weird text. Like, what do you think he meant by this?" And I'll be like, I'm not God. What do you think? I know what this guy exactly thinks. Like, and I get where it comes from, and we can break down like some key principles that allows you to deal with that, understanding men and so on and so forth. But it's like, typically the answer to your question is going to be answered by him. You got to ask him, right? And it's not even necessarily text. It might be something that he said on a date where you didn't really have much clarity. You didn't really understand what he really meant by that. Go ahead and ask him. 99% of the time, the clarity is just going to be like, oh, okay, that makes you feel a lot better. That makes a lot of sense. Boom. There you go.
Go to the source.
For example, actually, I had a client recently who she's been going on a number of dates with a guy who on his online dating profile said he's open to a relationship or even something casual. And this has been on her mind for a while. Typically, we don't go out with guys that have that on their profile because I don't even need to get into it. It's pretty clear he wants a casual relationship, but she did, and she got the sense from him actually that he is really relationship focused. So she's like, what do I do? I'm like, ask him about it. What did he mean by the casual thing? And guess what he said? Is it wild? This guy was like, well, when I said casual, I'm the type of guy, before I get really serious with a girl, I just want to get to know her. And I just want to like spend a lot of time with her and see if it's a good friendship before anything becomes intimate. It's like, dude, That is not what casual dating usually means, but I'm so glad you asked. like, oh my God, talk about like a perfect, great guy answer. You know, he's like, I just want to, build a friendship first and see if there's a real genuine connection. You're like, oh, that's what you meant?
Wow. You know what? And it just goes to show there are so many like clueless, nice guys out there. Clearly, he's not getting coaching.
No. Like,
Wow.
what a dope. Like, what a dope dude. But, like, he's a nice dope. He's a nice guy. And that's great. One simple question. Like, how many relationships that could have been something don't turn into something because someone wasn't able to have a courageous conversation?
Yeah.
Just by billions, billions over, the scope of human history. That's for sure.
Yeah. And, I think part of being courageous is being confident. And then the more you're courageous, the more confident, it's kind of like a cyclical kind of thing. And I think, number 6 is actually part of being courageous too, which is what we're calling just point it out. And so courageous and confident dating is you need to be willing to engage in minor disagreements and conflict with the person that you're getting to know. And again, this isn't on the first date. The first date's all about finding similarity and finding connection on, but it's like as you've been dating a little while, there's going to be things that come up that two people who are adults that are equals are going to disagree about. You're going to have to be willing to disagree about those things. When he does something that crosses the line, he's a guy. He's going to do something that crosses the line. He's going to say something stupid. He might send a text that's a little too sexual. Don't just let it go. Dating confidently, being empowered is about pointing it out. And you say, he sends you a text that's a little too sexual. Hopefully doesn't include a picture, but you just send him a text back that says, no, it's a little soon for that. Thanks. Right.
Yeah.
You point it out. You don't just let it go. Here's another really good example. And women complain about this all the time is they're on a first date. This is a first date one. So they're on a first date with a guy and he basically just won't shut up. He just keeps talking about his career, tells you everything there is to know about TPS reports and God knows what about his job. His accounting
job.
Yeah, apparently accounting. And so guys are nervous. And so that is like one of their things. Like if I keep talking, this can't go horribly. But it's like this is a time like assert yourself a little bit. Be like, hey, I'm sure you have questions for me. What are you wondering about for me? Like, what do you want to know? Like, it is okay to jump in and not just let him filibuster the conversation.
Yeah, I love that one, and that is a major major problem for a lot of our clients is going out with a talker Tommy who just he thinks that he's winning you over by just telling you all about his accolades and so on and so forth. This is your way of taking control. This is why we call it empowering. I think we could even take this a level deeper when it comes to when you're in relationships and long-lasting relationships. This is one thing, Gary, I've deeply admired about your work over the years is your idea of healthy fighting and healthy conflict. And the word fight, I know fighting in relationships is kind of a loaded word, so we'll just call it conflict. But the idea that if you are not having, like most people think that if you're not having conflict in a relationship, that's a good thing and everything's perfect. Like, oh, we haven't been in an argument in 10 years. Oh, it's just so perfect. All I think to myself is, someone's not saying something. There's something going on there. Oh my God.
Somebody's a doormat.
Someone's a doormat there. Yeah, exactly. And so being comfortable with conflict, ooh, that's a catchphrase right there. Comfortable with conflict. No, that doesn't exist. So don't go there. But being comfortable with conflict, I think, is a healthy reframe where there are going to be moments in a relationship where there's feedback or there's something that you don't like or something that he doesn't like. And you gotta sometimes go into a disagreement. And that's a good thing. It's good that these are coming up. It's good that you're finally like having your ability to share what it is that's going on in your brain. Because let me tell you, if it's just going on in your brain, it's not coming out of your mouth, I assure you that that relationship is not going to last. And doormats wonder why their relationships don't last. It's because they kept quiet. He doesn't know. So he's just going to keep doing his thing and doing it the way he thinks that you like it. And that's it. So don't be afraid of conflict.
It's going to last forever, right? Nothing's going to change if you don't say anything. Like you have to say something. Um,
Yeah.
And so the last way to date in an empowered, confident way is you have to have the ability to let him go, right? So not every guy is going to fit your love vision, right? Not every guy is going to be your guy. And so when they're not your guy, the doormat just doesn't do anything. Waits for him to break it off, waits for him to get sick of it, just kind of lingers and just, stays in that relationship forever, hoping that maybe some miracle will happen and something will change. No. Date empowered, date confident, you say next. You move on. It's not your goal to make every relationship work. It's only to make it work with the people that are right for you, the people that are compatible, right? That you have a connection with. It's not mean to move on from people who are not your people.
Yeah. Or worse. I mean, I know some people who might be in the doormat category where they secretly sabotage the relationship, hoping that the guy will break it off with them. It's like, you don't have to secretly sabotage this thing. You just got to get out of it, right? You're one conversation away from changing your life. And that's what empowerment is. Because the thing is, if you're able to end a relationship in a healthy way, suddenly you're going to be able to begin dating in a healthy way. And I think one of the key things that our clients have that most people don't is they know that if they leave a bad relationship, they now have a framework they can use to get back out there and find an even better relationship. And that leads to confidence. So don't be afraid to leave the bad situations. Don't be afraid to say that magical four-letter word, which is next. Move on to the next and find the guy that you truly deserve. So get out there, be that sexy, confident woman that I know is within you, every single one of you. Get out there, have a little fun along the way, and bring some strategy with you. Thanks, Gary. That was fun.
Thanks, Adam.